Right.
Now, where do you see this going? Say, what's your I guess timeline plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years with this? Do you want to get bigger? Are you trying to get into, well, almost like bookstores aren't really dying, but are you trying to establish a brand that can go into bookstores? Do you want to have a bigger online presence? What's your goal for this productions? Where do you see it?
So, again, people sometimes ask about, we're a publishing company that calls ourselves Productions. And of course, that partly goes to the audio, but it partly is a look ahead at the future. I would really love to see us get into kind of a multimedia kind of presence. And I have done some collaborative work with Sealy Studios in Tucson. We're currently working on an audio edition of Firebrand's Legacy from my Space Pirates Legacy books. We did a short film, essentially an extended book trailer of my novel, The Astronomer's Crypt, which you can see at davidleesummers.com. And, what I really would like to do is get to a point where we can bring these opportunities to the authors working with Hadrosaur, and maybe even authors beyond Hadrosaur, but where we all kind of work together to share this expertise and bring this to people. So, again, it's like I say, Sealy is in on this, and they're brainstorming ideas. We can do this. I'm kind of working on them, with this. So, I'd really like to see us go in that direction. Of course, I would love to see us, higher profiles in bookstores as well. But I think, if we can kind of leverage all these different directions of audio, of video, of writing, the actual books themselves, and maybe some other merchandise, I think this would be a great direction to go in the long run.
I have to throw this unscheduled question there because it kind of caveats on what you just said. Bookstores. Do you see bookstores being around in the next 5 or 10 years, or do you think they're going to go the way of Blockbuster?
That's a good question, and I absolutely love and treasure the indie bookstores around that are hanging in there and doing, making kind of curating books and making those available to specialty audiences in different neighborhoods, and knowing their clientele. Now Barnes and Noble, I love them and I love visiting them, but they're such a, they've been struggling a lot at the corporate level from things that you see in the newscast, and it's like, it's really hard to say, are they going to go the way of Borders? And I worry that they could. I think it's going to, I'm not quite going to bet on it. I think it's maybe more of a 50-50 kind of gamble, one way or the other. I think it really depends on how they play it at a corporate level, and what they do with their stores, and how well they engage with their local audiences, their local clientele, and get to know that. But yeah, it's, I think one possible future certainly is that in the long run, we end up buying all of our books online, and whether they be ebooks or get our print books online. And then it ends up being that if you want print books, you go see authors at a convention or something like that.
Yeah, because I'm always wondering, because a lot of people like the old school dinosaurs like myself, buying a book is a physical, tactile experience. I like to pick the book up, run, boom, open a page, read. It's a physical experience. And I think more and more, like my son who's in his 30s and my daughter in their 20s, they'd rather go to their Kindle, download 10 books, buy an entire series for like $1.99 a book, have them 10 or 15 books in their Kindle and just read it.
Oh, yeah.
I struggle with that. I want to have the book in my hand. I'm that old school, stubborn. I have a Kindle. I look at it and I have to have the book. I like the flip of the pages. I mean, that's just my personal preference. But there are more and more people that aren't like me, that would rather download, it's much easier.
Oh yeah, and it's like there are things I love about my Kindle. I love the fact that it's backlit, so you know when my wife and I are going to sleep, and I want to read a little bit late at night, I can
Yeah.
use the backlight on it. It's like, okay, that's kind of a nice feature. But I'm like you, I like the tactile side of it. I love being able to go to events and interact with authors, and I do know a few people who buy inexpensive Kindles and have authors sign them. But it's not quite the same as going and taking a book that you love by an author and having them sign that book
I
for
can't
you.
see. Can you sign my Kindle?
I have signed a couple of them.